Hey everyone, Cody here, and I wanted to talk about a question that I see a lot of, and the question is, what makes an abstract painting good? I mean, because a lot of people just, they don't like abstract because, one, they think it's overpriced, and two, anybody can do it, which may actually be partly true on both of those, and I talk about this in other videos. So if that's the case, if anyone can do it and it's overpriced, why is it even good, or is it even good? Well, I think the answer comes down to yes, but it's subjective, right? Obviously, what you like is going to be different than what I like, and you could also look at any style of painting and think that one is better than the other, regardless of the style, right? And so, because of that, the question of what makes abstract art good really comes down to kind of the quality. So, what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at two different types of paintings, even done in the same style, one could look better than the other. Okay, so even in abstract, even poured paintings, which I'm not a big fan of poured paintings because I think it's really just cheap and easy to do, and everybody does it. Right? There's not a lot of technique involved. You pour it and then you tilt it. It's done. Same could be said for some of my other paintings, so I guess I can't really even stand on that argument. But that being the case, if it's that easy for everyone to do, then how can you say it's good? Well, really, if you judge a bunch of the same style of painting together, you can kind of see basically if the artist meant to do it. Okay, so this is what I look for. So when I follow other artists or look at other artists online, you know, I judge their work. I'm sure people look at mine and judge mine, and that's fine. I mean, as an artist, I judge my own work against other people's, and I know we shouldn't as artists. We should just be like, okay, I either like this or I don't. But at the same time, I like having some kind of framework to look at other people's paintings and kind of decide whether or not that's good or not. Now, how you can tell if it is an abstract like good or not is by looking at kind of the quality of the painting. So here's what I mean by that. Does it look like the artist intended to create the painting that they created, right? Does it look, and moreover, does it look professional? So there's a lot of paintings, there's a lot of just abstract art in general that is crap. I mean, let's just be honest. You could even say my stuff is that. But if there is a lot of stuff out there that even not looking at abstract and looking at, drawings or realist paintings or sculptures or whatever, there's a certain level of quality, and you can tell just by looking at it. So recently, I came across a guy named Thomas Hamar, and I'll probably link to him somewhere in the description. I just recently found his work, and I was really impressed with it because his paintings are very clean. So it's abstract, right? And he does, these scrape paintings, and he does these drip paintings. He does a couple of different styles. But the paintings themselves, sorry it's so loud, but the paintings themselves are very clean. So what I mean by that is, like, if you look at his work, the work itself looks like it was intended. Okay, so you may think that abstract, it's just like, oh, you just threw it on there and you kept it. Well, that could be the case, and sometimes, if you do it enough times, you're bound to get a few that turn out good. That can happen. You could sell it, and it's art, right? It is. I mean, if you put it on the wall, whether it's good or not, it's still considered art, right? But when I look at the work of someone like this guy, Thomas, just looking at the work, it's professional. So first off, the work itself looks like he meant to do it. So the colors, they're very distinct, very crisp. His line work is very clean. Like, it's not messy. Like he didn't intend it, but then sold it anyway. It looks like he intended to create the look that he created. Another thing is that there's a certain level of professionalism that you can kind of take a look at the work itself, right? So if someone just puts it together and, like, say it looks unfinished, As far as like maybe the sides aren't painted, or like it just looks like they just threw something on there, but they didn't actually like, they weren't intending to create it. So there's a certain level of like professionalism where like, does the photo, like, does it look like they don't care enough to take a decent photo? There's just a lot of different things. So in order to tell if it's good or not, obviously the first thing is that it's going to be your emotional response. I mean, it's subjective. Whether you think a piece is like good is going to be different than what someone else thinks, right? So a big part of abstract art is not necessarily the line work. Like the Mona Lisa, you can look at it and you know what it is, so everybody judges it based on the surface. But with abstract, it's really more of, does it make you feel anything? Do you feel anything positive? Probably. When you look at that painting, when you stare at it, does it make you say, wow, that's cool? Or like, I just feel something when maybe you can't even describe it, right? So first off, to determine whether an abstract painting is good or not is, one, does it provoke an emotional response? A lot of abstract is about emotion. Like, does it make you feel comfortable? Does it feel like it fits the space? Does it feel like when you look at it, you can see something in it, or it just makes you feel something, right? So part of that is emotional response. Second, does it look intended? So does this piece look like they were trying to do something specific with it? Like, can you see the technique in it? Or does it look like they were trying to achieve something? Or does it just look like they just threw it on there and then that was it, right? You could argue that with a lot of like Pollock's work, right? Because Pollock is these drip paintings. But at the same time, there was a specific look that he was going for. Now, he probably gets the most flack out of everybody because it's, dripped and stuff like that. But even in that, you could still be trying to achieve a certain level of balance between the colors, or a certain amount of color in the middle of the painting and not around the edges. You still can achieve a certain look with that technique, and you would know if it was good or not because of the balance, or how much lines there are and how much color there is. That's really subjective. Now again, another thing is that it goes from piece to piece, as far as every piece is kind of on its own. So what you may feel about one piece with the same colors may be different about another piece with the same colors, same technique, but they could turn out two different ways, and you like one more than other. So sometimes it's a case-by-case basis whether you think that a piece is good or not, just based on the way that it turned out. So even if it's a good piece, you may not like that particular piece, but then the artist has a similar one, and you're like, oh, I like that one, but you don't know why, right? It's just because of the way that it makes you feel. So it comes back to that. So the first part is the emotion. You can tell if a piece is good if it makes you feel something, usually positive. But even if it makes you hate it, it's still provoked a piece. Now you could hate a piece and still think it's good. Like, oh, I don't really like that style, but that's pretty cool, right? So does it evoke emotion? If it doesn't, then maybe it's not good, at least not to you. Second, does it look like it was intended? This piece wasn't like, I didn't intend it to look this way, right? This one was, this piece is just a bunch of colors I had left over, and I scraped them, and I did not like the way it looked, right? So it did not turn out the way that I wanted it to. So it was not intended, and that's why I'm not selling it. So it didn't turn out, the way that I wanted, or at least, good, right, to me. So you could look at this and think it's good, which you probably don't, but I look at it and I don't think it's good, and I'm the artist. So there's that. The third part is the professionalism, and what I mean by that is a certain level of quality. And so going back to the previous statement I just made, it kind of like, do you see quality in this? Like, so what do I mean by that? I mean, if you're the artist, you know whether or not the quality of something you make is good or not. Okay, so, and it's what someone else feels is not necessarily what you feel. So someone else could see it and be like, oh, that's cool. But you as the artist are like, oh, and because intrinsically you don't think it's good. Now, even though the style, like one person might like the style or not, there still needs to be a certain level of professionalism. So what do I mean by that? Well, since I don't like this painting and I don't feel comfortable with the way it turned out, I won't sell it. I'm not in the business of just sending out paintings just because I made them and trying to sell them and make a quick buck. No, I don't believe in that. If I don't like the quality of the piece, I'm not going to sell it. And so you kind of have to look at that. Like, does it look like something that you would buy? Even if you're not going to buy it, would you buy it if you had the money? Does it look like something that is good enough to buy, even if you don't want to buy it yourself? So that's kind of what I do. Like going back to that Thomas from Mars guy, I saw some of his paintings and I was like, man, even though I'm an abstract painter and I could probably make something similar, I could not replicate what he does. And some of his paintings are phenomenal, and I love them. I think the colors are great. I think that he's got a great eye for balance, all these other things, right? And even though I make abstract art, I would still buy it if I had the money because I enjoy it. And see, I used to think that, well, I'm an abstract artist, so why would I buy abstract art from other people? But after seeing some of those works, I was like, well, I would still buy that, even being an abstract artist, because I want to support other artists, but also because I think that the quality is there. And then I always talk about Suarez, Ed from Suarez. There's a couple of paintings that, like, if I had the money, I would buy it. And they're professional. These guys are professional. Like, they do it for a living, and their paintings just look good. So coming back to that, does it look like that? Does it look like they care about the product? That's my biggest thing. When you look at a painting, does it seem like, to me, a good painting is something that they took the time to actually put out a decent product? Like, does it look like something that is a decent quality? Okay, so I know that seems kind of long-winded coming back to that, but like, I don't think that this is good quality, so I won't sell it. To me, it's not good. And so I won't sell it. Like, if I didn't like this painting right here, if I didn't like this painting, if I didn't think it turned out good, I wouldn't sell it. And this isn't my favorite painting, but I think it's a good quality. I'm not trying to like promo it or sell it. I'm just saying that if it didn't turn out good to me, then I wouldn't turn around and sell it to other people. So does it look like something you would buy? So kind of recapping, what makes abstract art good? Well, one, it's gotta invoke some kind of emotion. If it doesn't evoke emotion in you, then it may not be good. Now, again, that's subjective. Every person will think differently, and it's case by case. So you could see two different pieces from the same artist and like this one and hate this one. I mean, there's artists that I follow that I love some of their work and hate others. It's all the same artist. Just because I like the artist doesn't mean I like all the work they did, right? So, does it invoke emotion? Two, does it look like they intended to do that? Does it look like that artist meant to do something with that piece that it's worth, like the piece is its own? I don't know how else to explain that in a way that kind of makes sense. But does the piece look like it was intended to represent that artist? Okay, so does it look like it was, they meant to do that? Does it look good? The third one is, is it professional? So is it good? Like, did the artist care about the piece that they made? Did they just slap it together and send it out into the world because they're just trying to get more work in the world? Or does it look like they actually cared about the piece that they made? So if they cared about that piece, you can tell. You can tell both in the way they present it and in the way that it looks, So, those three things, that's how I can tell if a piece of abstract art is good. I just look at those three things, Does it invoke a response? Oh, this looks really cool. Two, does it look intended? Oh man, I could tell that they were trying to achieve this look. And three, do they represent it well? Oh wow, they even framed it. They make a little frame around that painting. I can tell that they care about this piece because they went through all that effort. That's it. That's for me. That is how I tell if abstract art. I mean, if you have other ways to tell if abstract art is good or bad, please leave a comment and tell me what you think. If you think all abstract art is bad, you're definitely welcome to leave that comment too. I've heard that a lot. But I don't think that, you know, there's good and bad everything. There's good and bad realist paintings, there's good and bad drawings, there's good and bad sculptures, there's good and bad everything. And I do think that there is good abstract in the world, and some is better than others based on those three things that I told you. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, rate, share, subscribe, all that stuff, the bell, all the jazz. And you know, if you're interested in looking at pieces I have available, please visit my site. But otherwise, I just want to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Take care.